will discuss the financial tsunami that's on its way. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Let's discuss this right here, and this is actually real news. Scientists want to mine our poop for gold. I can't believe I'm reading this, but here we are. Every year, Americans are flushing a fortune down the toilet, literally. And you can read the article for yourself. I'm not going to get into it, but just wanted to show you how desperate certain nations are to make wealth or create this wealth out of this that we're flushing down the toilet. This shows you how far we have come. Let's look at this here. Very, very important information. The Washington Post actually released this here. The Pentagon is unable to account for more than $500 million in U.S. military aid given to Yemen amid fears that the weaponry, aircraft, and equipment is at risk of being seized by Iranian-backed rebels or Al-Qaeda. That's the complete opposite, according to the U.S. officials. So here we have propaganda, even in its form right here, saying that it could be Al-Qaeda or it could be Iran that has them. In fact, they are the complete opposite. They are Sunni and Shia, but of course the general public doesn't understand that. With Yemen in turmoil and its government splintering, the Defense Department has lost its ability to monitor the whereabouts of small arms, ammunition, night vision goggles, patrol boats, vehicles, and other supplies donated by the United States. So, of course, it ends up in the hands of ISIS once again. This has happened before, and this will happen again, and it is not an accident. This time it happens to be in Yemen. It could happen in other countries, and in fact will unfortunately expand. This is a program that they have in place, and it's being funded by the taxpayer. And this connects in with this information out of McClatchy. Russia is rekindling its once strong ties to Nicaragua, possibly including providing the Central American nation with jet fighters, stoking unease as far away as the Andes in South America. What we have here is an expansion of what Russia is doing, finding partners all over the world, and here they are. In this case, later this week, Russian foreign minister will arrive in Nicaragua as part of a swing through 4 Latin American nations. So obviously they're partnered up with China, they're partnered up with other nations as well, and this time making their way into Latin America. So it isn't just a one-sided battle that the U.S. is fighting, that the West is fighting. We see these alliances being formed on the other side. Very interesting information, but I want to move on to this right here. So while we have trillions of dollars being spent on the big banks to prop them up, here, unfortunately, we have this growing problem. Total means tested welfare spending and official poverty rate. We're going back from 1947 all the way to 2012, and you can see this so-called war on poverty beginning in 1964. Ever since then, unfortunately, it has been declining. At the same time, you see the welfare spending increasing pretty much every single year, and this has done nothing to improve the poverty rates. In fact, since the 1990s approximately, you can see that it has been skyrocketing in terms of the amount of spending, and it is not doing a single thing to increase the statistics here. This is quite unfortunate. Our money is going into the wrong hands. In fact, going into the worst hands in the situation here with ISIS or Al-Qaeda or whatever their name is today. This is out of heritage.org, a website that has some good information here, but I want to move on for this. You're looking at a wall that's being built, and this is in Japan. They're building a wall to block a potential tsunami from hitting. That's right. If they encounter another tsunami, there's going to be their own Great Wall to block it. And this is being done as a massive multi-billion-dollar public works project that will be taking place. And they're saying that is for a good reason. And I completely understand where they're going with that. But we need to really look into the details and realize that the people should be evacuated from this area. They shouldn't be living in a tsunami-prone zone. You don't just build a wall in between the water and the people. You simply have to relocate. If the Fukushima incident, it should tell us something how dangerous this area can be. So the best thing to do, instead of spending $6.8 billion, I would rather see that amount of money being used to relocate people elsewhere. But of course, they're suggesting that this is going to give people jobs. And it could be the case, definitely could be. I even support public works projects over printing money. At least it's something. But that isn't a way to solve the problems. The problems are not being addressed. The root cause is still definitely there. In my book, I wrote about it and essentially talking about during the Great Depression how they implemented these public works projects and other actions. So let's look at this. The government felt it necessary to keep employment high to keep the consumer spending. They believed that it was necessary for government planning to combat depressions and bolster the idea of public works as a depression remedy. The idea was to increase public works in order to fend off the depression. And I go on there, but essentially just going to show you that what they do when they have a problem is they increase the public works and they keep the wages high, and they do so in an unnatural manner, and that just puts a burden on the future taxpayer and current taxpayer, in fact. So that's what's happening today. We see it in Japan, and this isn't going to resolve absolutely anything. Now, this is an issue that I've been researching myself, as well as people have been emailing me from all over the world to tell me about the conditions from first-hand experience about what's happening in their country. And look at Norway. You can see the residential property prices absolutely absurd levels. Look at Canada, for example. In the purple line there, you can see that it's basically been going up since 1970, other than a little blip in here, for pretty much every year on year. And even though the collapse that occurred with the real estate prices in the U.S., it doesn't seem to affect the Canadian housing market, particularly in Vancouver and Toronto. But then you add on that what's happening in Norway, and you can see this unbelievable rise in the property prices. So does this mean that you should get on the wave and you should invest in real estate? Well, even Warren Buffett, who I definitely don't see eye to eye with, he said the stupidest reason to invest in a stock is because the price is going up. And at least in that case, I do agree with him, because you can't just throw your money and try to ride the wave. It isn't a very sound idea. Now, the real estate prices could increase for a year, 2 years, 10 years if they want to. The interest rates just continue to go down, and this is fueling the bubble even further. This is causing a massive dislocations and disconnection in between reality and fiction. This is very evident right here in Norway in particular. Look at this. At the opposite end of the spectrum, we see certain assets that are going downward. China iron ore been heading downward here for many months on end, and it doesn't seem to be stopping. In fact, it's going in a straight line. And this will continue for the foreseeable future, it looks like. So this is just one more indicator to look at when we're talking about a deflation that's occurring in some instances. And this is the last thing that I will talk about for today. Out of Reuters, France will step up monitoring of cash payments, withdrawals, and small bank accounts to better fight against the financing of terrorism. So, let's take this at face value for the moment. You want to stop cash payments. They want to go to a cashless society. And this is something that I've been covering. And of course, as I do cover it, there are always those who suggest that this isn't the case. But we see specifically that they're moving towards this Cash is obviously being less used. We see payment systems like with the new iPhone that are being implemented, and of course slow to adopt, but it will and definitely is heading in that direction. What they're saying here is that this is going to be the fight against the use of cash and anonymity in the French economy. That's right. You're not to be anonymous. That's right. You're going to be spied on from the gunshot detectors. The NSA is going to categorize and database every single one of your actions. When you drive out of your house and go down the street, there's a picture of your license plate, and that's putting into a database. Then you go into the store and use your credit card. That's put into the database. And every which way you turn, that is all being put into a database. And now, no longer do they want cash to be used, because that facilitates this transfer in between two people, and they don't want that anymore. They don't want a means of you and I connecting. They want to be in the middle to make sure that everything is so safe. But to get to the deeper intelligence here, look at what I talked about at the beginning, how we see the funds making their way into the hands of Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Islamic State, Caliphate, whatever you call them today, making their way into those hands. And what is being done to stop that level of terrorism? Not the individuals, this real tragedy that occurred with several people dying. What about all the innocent people that are dying overseas because of the taxpayer money that's being sent over there and being funneled into the hands of these individuals there? Now, this is obviously something that the mainstream media simply will not connect the dots on, but I'm here to do so. If you found the video informative, truly I would appreciate a thumbs up. I wanted to note right here, because I'm always getting these emails, but I'll mention it again occasionally, that I do consultations with people over Skype. If you're interested in that, please let me know. Definitely just email me at david@themoneygps.com, and alternatively, you can be on the insiders, and I definitely reply on there first. So if you're interested in, just need someone to talk to regarding this, or you want